I need to be honest with you. We are about to see something most people think only happens in history books or disaster movies. Rationing. Not in some far-off country, but right here within the next 18 months. And while everyone is going to panic when it happens, I have been quietly preparing for this exact scenario. If you want to know what is actually going to disappear and how to prepare before the chaos starts, hit that subscribe button right now, because this information could be the difference between your family eating normally or standing in government distribution lines. I have spent the last 6 months talking to supply chain managers, agricultural experts, and people inside the system who see what is coming. What I am about to share is not fear-mongering. This is based on current trajectories that anyone paying attention can see. Here are the 8 goods most likely to be rationed by mid-2026, and what you need to do right now.
Look, grocery prices are rising faster than most people can keep up with. I've done the math for you. I put together a free emergency pantry blueprint that lists the exact 15 items you can get at Aldi, Walmart, or Costco today to feed your family for 2 weeks. It's 28,000 calories for less than the cost of a takeout pizza. You can grab that shopping list for free at the link in the description so you can stop worrying and start prepping.
Good number 1 is cooking oil. Let me start with something that is going to shock most people. Cooking oil. And I am not talking about some fancy olive oil shortage. I am talking about basic vegetable oil, canola oil, the stuff you use every single day without thinking about it. Here is what nobody is paying attention to. Over 60% of the world's cooking oil comes from just 4 crops: soybeans, palm, sunflower, and rapeseed. And right now, 3 of those 4 are facing massive production problems. Ukraine and Russia together produce over 75% of the world's sunflower oil. That supply has been disrupted for 2 years and is not coming back to normal levels anytime soon. Palm oil production in Indonesia and Malaysia is down 23% due to weather issues and labor shortages. Soybean crops in South America just had the worst yield in 15 years. Look, grocery prices are rising faster than most people can keep up with. I have done the math for you and put together a free emergency pantry blueprint that lists the exact 15 items you must keep, which you can buy from any store. It can feed your family for 2 weeks and costs less than takeout. You can grab the list for free at the link in description so you can stop worrying and start prepping. I was talking to a food distributor last month, someone who has been in the business for 30 years, and he told me something that made my blood run cold. He said his company is already implementing quiet allocation systems. That is industry speak for limiting how much cooking oil retailers can order. They are doing this now, before the public even knows there is a problem. Think about what cooking oil touches in your daily life. It is not just frying food. It is in mayonnaise, salad dressing, bread, crackers, cookies, potato chips, and basically every packaged food on the shelf. When cooking oil gets rationed, it creates a cascade effect through the entire food system. Here is what I am doing right now. I am buying 2 extra bottles of cooking oil every single shopping trip, not 50 bottles at once. That creates panic and draws attention. Just 2 extra bottles. I am storing them in a cool, dark place. Most vegetable oils last 18 to 24 months unopened. I am also diversifying. I have got vegetable oil, canola oil, and coconut oil, which lasts even longer. If one type gets rationed first, I have got backup. And here's a pro move. I bought a 5-gallon container of peanut oil. Sealed properly, it lasts up to 3 years. One 5-gallon container is the equivalent of 20 32-ounce bottles. It cost me $85, but that is insurance I can actually use. Good number 2 is coffee. Number 2 is going to hurt emotionally for a lot of people, coffee. And I am not exaggerating when I say this might cause more social disruption than anything else on this list. Here's the situation. Coffee is only grown in a narrow band around the equator called the coffee belt. There is no alternative. You cannot grow coffee in Nebraska. Climate disruptions in Brazil, which produces 40% of the world's coffee, have devastated crops for 3 straight years. Vietnam, the second largest producer, is facing the same issues. But here's what is really driving this toward rationing. Coffee prices on commodity markets have already doubled in the past 18 months. Most consumers have not felt it yet because companies are absorbing the cost, but that cannot last forever. I spoke with a guy who manages procurement for a major coffee chain. He told me they are already planning for reduced availability, and that internal projections show potential rationing scenarios by late 2025 or early 2026. Think about the psychology of this. Coffee is not just a beverage. It is a ritual. It is how millions of people start their day. It is workplace culture. When coffee gets rationed, you're going to see genuine panic. Here's my strategy, and I started this 8 months ago. Whole bean coffee lasts way longer than ground. I bought a manual hand grinder for $35. No electricity needed. I am buying 2 bags of whole bean coffee every month and vacuum sealing them. Vacuum sealed whole beans last 2 to 3 years. I got 40 pounds in my storage right now, and I am not stopping. I also bought 10 pounds of instant coffee. I know it is not as good, but in a rationing scenario, it will be worth its weight in gold. Instant coffee lasts up to 20 years if stored properly. Here is something most people do not think about. Coffee is not just about the caffeine hit. It is a trade commodity. In a barter situation, coffee will have insane value. A pound of good coffee could trade for essentials. I am also looking at alternatives. I bought 5 pounds of chicory root, which has been used as a coffee substitute for centuries. It actually tastes decent and lasts indefinitely when dried. Good number 3 is butter and dairy fats. Number 3 is already starting to show cracks in the system, butter and dairy fats. Last month, I walked into my regular grocery store, and for the first time ever, they had a limit on butter, 2 pounds per customer. That is not rationing yet, but it is a warning sign. Here is what is happening. Dairy farms have been shutting down at an accelerating rate. In the past 3 years, the U.S. has lost over 7,000 dairy farms. These are not coming back. Once a dairy farm shuts down, it is done. The margins are too thin. The infrastructure is too expensive. Butter production requires a massive amount of milk. It takes 21 pounds of whole milk to make just 1 pound of butter. When milk production drops, butter is one of the first things to get hit. But here is the kicker. Butter demand has actually increased. People are moving away from margarine back to real butter for health reasons. So, you have got falling supply and rising demand. That is the textbook setup for rationing. I have been watching butter prices for 2 years. They have gone up 40% in that time, and most people have not even noticed because it happens gradually. Here is my approach. Butter freezes beautifully. I am buying 4 pounds of butter every 2 weeks and putting it straight in my chest freezer. Frozen butter lasts 12 months easily. Some people say longer. I have got 60 pounds in my freezer right now. I am also stocking ghee, which I talked about earlier. Ghee does not need refrigeration and lasts forever. I have got 15 jars of ghee as my backup to the backup. Here's the reality. When butter gets rationed, every recipe that needs it becomes a problem. Baking becomes difficult. Comfort food becomes impossible. But if you have got a stockpile, you can maintain normal life while everyone else is struggling. Good number 4 is canned tomatoes and tomato products. Number 4 is something most people use multiple times a week without realizing how fragile the supply is. Canned tomatoes and tomato products. Tomato paste, crushed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, marinara sauce, ketchup, all of it. Here is what most people do not know. California grows 95% of the processing tomatoes in the United States. 95%. That is a single point of failure for the entire country. And California is facing compounding problems. Water restrictions are limiting which crops can be planted. Labor shortages are leaving tomatoes rotting in fields. And farmland is being converted to other uses because tomatoes are not profitable anymore. I have a family member who works in agricultural logistics in California. He told me that tomato processing plants are operating at 60% capacity, not because of equipment problems, but because there are not enough tomatoes coming in. That is happening right now, and nobody is talking about it. Think about how often you use tomato products. Spaghetti sauce, chili, soup, salsa, pizza sauce, tomato soup. It is a base ingredient in dozens of meals. When this gets rationed, your entire meal rotation changes. Here is what I have been doing for the past year. Every shopping trip, I buy 6 extra cans of tomato products. I rotate varieties, dice, crush, paste, sauce. Canned tomatoes last 18 months to 2 years, and honestly, they are fine even longer. I've got over 200 cans in my storage right now, organized by type and expiration date. I use the oldest ones in regular cooking and replace them, so nothing goes to waste. I am also stocking tomato powder. This is a game changer. Tomato powder is dehydrated tomatoes ground into powder. You can reconstitute it into paste or sauce, or use it as seasoning. It lasts 10 to 15 years in sealed containers. I bought 5 pounds for $40. That is the equivalent of dozens of cans, but takes up a fraction of the space. When tomato products get rationed, the people who prepared will be eating normal meals. Everyone else will be trying to figure out substitutes that do not really work. Good number 5 is rice. Number 5 is the big one, the one that could cause genuine geopolitical problems. Rice. Half the world's population eats rice as their staple food. It is not optional for billions of people, and the global rice supply is tighter right now than it has been in 20 years. India, the world's largest rice exporter, banned most rice exports last year. That is 40% of global rice trade just gone. Thailand and Vietnam are facing production issues due to drought and flooding. China is hoarding rice at levels not seen in decades. When countries start hoarding, that is the clearest signal that they see trouble ahead. Here is what is going to happen. Rice will not disappear from stores completely, but prices will spike and purchase limits will be implemented. We are probably 6 to 9 months away from seeing limit 2 bags per customer signs. I know rice is Prepper 101. Everyone talks about it, but most people still are not taking it seriously enough. Here is my strategy, and it is different from what most preppers do. I am not buying 500 pounds of white rice and calling it done. I am diversifying. I have got white rice for long-term storage. It lasts 30 years in sealed buckets. I have got jasmine rice because my family actually likes the taste. I have got brown rice even though it only lasts 6 months because the nutrition is better for regular rotation. And I have got instant rice for bug-out situations where cooking time matters. Total, I have got about 300 pounds stored. That is roughly a year's supply for my family. I am storing it in food-grade buckets with gamma seal lids for easy access. Each bucket has an oxygen absorber. But here is what most people miss. Rice by itself is not enough. You need variety or you will experience food fatigue. That is why I have got all those other items on this list. Rice is a foundation, but you need the other goods to make it edible long-term. Good number 6 is sugar. Number 6 is going to surprise people because it seems so basic, sugar. But sugar is already on the path toward rationing, and most people have no idea. Global sugar supplies are the tightest they have been in years. India, Thailand, and Brazil are all facing production shortfalls. But here is what is really driving this. Sugar is not just for your coffee. It is in everything. Bread, ketchup, salad dressing, yogurt, cereal, granola bars, and obviously all desserts and candy. The food industry consumes massive amounts of sugar. When sugar gets expensive or scarce, food manufacturers have 2 choices: raise prices or reduce production. Either way, consumers lose. I was at a wholesale club 2 months ago, and they had a quiet limit on sugar for bags per customer. It was not advertised. You only found out at checkout. That is soft rationing, and it is already happening. Here is why sugar matters for preparedness beyond the obvious. Sugar is a preservative. You can use it to make jams and preserves that last years. You can use it in canning. It is critical for morale. When you are eating survival food for weeks, something sweet is not a luxury. It is psychological relief. Here is what I am doing. I bought 200 pounds of white granulated sugar. It cost me about $80. White sugar lasts indefinitely if kept dry. I mean forever. I got it stored in food-grade buckets with tight lids. I also bought 50 pounds of honey. Honey never goes bad. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey that is still edible. It is nature's perfect survival food. I have got brown sugar, powdered sugar, and maple syrup as well. Diversification means if one type becomes unavailable, I have got alternatives. In a barter situation, sugar will have trade value. People will give up a lot for something sweet when everything else is bland. Good number 7 is wheat flour. Number 7 is wheat flour, and this one ties directly into bread, pasta, and baked goods. Flour is one of the most used ingredients in the modern diet, and it is also one of the most vulnerable. Here's the problem. Wheat production is facing a perfect storm. Ukraine was one of the world's largest wheat exporters before the conflict. That supply is still disrupted. Droughts in major wheat-growing regions in the U.S., Canada, and Australia have reduced yields, and fertilizer prices have tripled, making wheat farming less profitable. A guy I know who owns a small milling operation told me something chilling. He said the contracts he is seeing from suppliers now have force majeure clauses specifically related to supply shortages. That means suppliers are legally protecting themselves in case they cannot deliver flour. That is not normal. Now, you might be thinking you will just buy a lot of flour and store it. Here's the problem. Regular all-purpose flour only lasts about 6 to 8 months before it starts going rancid. The oils in flour break down. So, stockpiling 500 pounds of flour does not work unless you have a plan. Here is my solution, and this is what serious preppers do. I store whole wheat berries, which I mentioned before. They last 30 years. When I need flour, I grind it fresh. But I also keep about 50 pounds of all-purpose flour that I rotate through regular use. I mark every bag with a purchase date, use the oldest first, and replace it. I also bought 25 pounds of almond flour and coconut flour. These alternative flours last longer, 9 to 12 months, and give me options if wheat flour becomes unavailable. And I have got a manual grain mill. If the power goes out long term, I can still make fresh flour. That is resilience. Good number 8 is infant formula. Number 8 is the most critical and most likely to be rationed first, infant formula. If you have a baby or know someone who does, listen very carefully. The infant formula shortage in 2022 was a preview. Stores ran out. Parents panicked. It made national news. But here is what most people do not realize. Nothing has been fixed. The supply chain is still fragile. Manufacturing is still consolidated with just a few companies making almost all the formula. One plant shut down, one contamination issue, one supply problem, and it happens again. Except next time, it might last longer. I do not have an infant right now, but I have friends who do, and I have been telling them for months to stockpile formula. Most of them think I am overreacting until I show them the data. Infant formula has a shelf life of about 12 months. That means you can safely buy a year's supply if you have the space and the budget. If you have a baby, here is what you need to do today. Calculate how much formula your baby uses per month. Multiply that by 12. Buy that amount now, rotating through it as you use it. Always use the oldest cans first. Keep buying more to maintain a 6 to 12 month buffer. If you do not have a baby but want to help others or have trade value, formula will be worth more than gold in a rationing scenario. A parent with a hungry baby will trade anything. I personally keep 20 cans of powdered infant formula in storage as a barter item and to help family or neighbors if needed. It cost me about $300, but in a crisis, that could save a child's life. We've covered the 8 essential goods: cooking oil, coffee, butter, canned tomatoes, rice, sugar, wheat flour, and infant formula that are on the shortest path to rationing. But the real lesson here is not just about what to buy. It's about how to approach preparation. The difference between a frantic shopper and a prepared family is strategy. The masses will wait until the limits are posted and the shelves are bare. They will react to the media and the immediate crisis. You, however, have the advantage of foresight. You are acting now, quietly, incrementally, and strategically. This isn't about hoarding. It's about resilience. Every extra jar of ghee, every vacuum-sealed bag of coffee beans, and every food-grade bucket of rice represents an intentional decision to shield your family from predictable economic and logistical shocks. You are buying time, peace of mind, and most importantly, self-sufficiency. Remember the 4 pillars of successful, quiet prepping. Diversification. Never rely on a single source or type of good. If one supply chain breaks, like palm oil or white rice, your alternatives, coconut oil, brown rice, kick in. Rotation. Stockpiling is useless if the food spoils. Use what you store and store what you use. The FIFO first in, first out method is your insurance against waste. Pro-grade storage. Move beyond pantry shelves. Food-grade buckets, Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, and chest freezers are the tools that turn 6 months of shelf life into 30 years. Barter value. In a true crisis, commodities like instant coffee, honey, and infant formula will become currencies more stable than the dollar. Your preps are not just for eating. They are for trading for other critical services or goods. The trajectory is clear. The signs are already visible in quiet allocations at the distributor level and subtle purchase limits at the store. The time for denial is over. Use this information not to generate fear, but to motivate action. Start today, start small, and start smart. By mid-2026, the quiet preparedness you engage in now will be the loud difference between comfort and chaos. Here is the bottom line. Rationing is not some far-off possibility. It is a logical outcome of the supply chain failures, climate disruptions, and geopolitical instability we are seeing right now. The people who prepare quietly now will maintain normal life. Everyone else will be standing in lines, dealing with limits, and paying inflated prices. I am not saying this to scare you. I am saying this because it is reality. If this video gave you a clear action plan, smash that like button and drop a comment telling me which of these 8 goods you're stocking up on first. And subscribe because next week I am revealing the 3 biggest prepping mistakes that will get you killed in a real collapse. You do not want to miss that.